Good afternoon. I want to first start by thanking all the elected officials and faith leaders here with us for their work over the past week. On behalf of the family of Michael Brown, the people of Ferguson, the entire St. Louis region. The tragic shooting death of Michael Brown 1 week ago today and the events that followed left a family grieving the loss of a son, a community racked by fear and unrest, and an entire world looking for answers and justice. Over the past several days, I've heard from the people of Ferguson. I've heard their anger about injustice and intimidation. I've seen and heard the unspeakable sadness of a mother who won't see her son again, and the anguish of parents throughout the region, struggling to teach their kids to trust among so much strife. But like all the world, I've also seen over the past few days tremendous acts of grace, generosity, and courage. People of all races and creeds joining hands to pray for justice for the family of Michael Brown. And just last night, the courage and resolve of peaceful protesters who stood up against violent instigators, volunteers coming out, coming forward, even in this morning's steady rain, to help their neighbors pick up the pieces. As governor, I'm committed to making sure the forces of peace and justice prevail. That is why early in the week I called on the Department of Justice to conduct an independent investigation of the shooting death of Michael Brown. An investigation, I'm glad to say, is being beefed up with additional FBI agents canvassing this area over the next several days. I want to personally thank General Holder. We had a good, thoughtful discussion yesterday, and I appreciate deeply his leadership and support. And that is why 2 days ago, as we saw escalation and the need change and shift, I put the Missouri State Highway Patrol in charge of maintaining safety and security in Ferguson. I want to personally thank Captain Ron Johnson for his outstanding leadership in helping bring calm to the streets of Ferguson while maintaining the rights of its citizens to engage in peaceful protest. That balance is important. The First Amendment is extremely important. In action times like this, people being able to speak their concerns is vitally important. As a result of those actions, we've begun to see progress. On Thursday night, peaceful protesters of all ages, races, and creeds here in Ferguson and in cities and towns across the nation, 80 separate cities, called in one united voice for justice to be served. And last night, except for a very few, the folks out in the streets of Ferguson last night were peaceful demonstrators. But we also saw a pattern develop last night where after hours of peaceful protesting, small groups took to the streets with the intent of committing crimes and endangering citizens. That is unacceptable. Each step of the way this week, I've been in touch with these local leaders. And I just met once again with them to discuss the best course forward. I share their frustration and their conviction that we cannot allow the ill will of the few to undermine the goodwill of the many and continue to put the people and businesses of this community in danger. If there was an easy way to separate those who hurt from those who helped, we would. But it's hard. And sometimes, especially at night, we can't. So to protect the people and property of Ferguson today, I signed an order declaring a state of emergency and ordering the implementation of a curfew in the impacted area of Ferguson. Again, this is not to silence the people of Ferguson or this region or others, but to contain those who are drowning out the voice of the people with their actions. We will not allow a handful of looters to endanger the rest of this community. We still need more answers about what happened 1 week ago at Campfield Green. And I will continue to push for those answers and demand transparency and accountability and expediency. I will tell you there's a lot of people working on that right now, a lot of people. But if we're going to achieve justice, we must first have and maintain peace. This is a test. The eyes of the world are watching. This is a test of whether a community, this community, any community, can break the cycle of fear, distrust, and violence, and replace them with peace, strength, and ultimately justice. It will not happen in one night. But that is where we will start. So tonight, let that journey continue. And in the morning, this community will rise with the sun to renew its quest for justice. Now, to go through a couple of the operational choices, then we'll hear from a couple of officials. This challenging time, it is nice to have veterans of law enforcement working in a coordinated fashion.
Excuse me, Governor, you need to charge that police with murder. That will bring peace.
The task that we have at hand, the task for which I have been tasked to lead, is the task, first of all, to represent the people of the state and the people of this area, but also to make sure that we have peace and security. Let us go through the decisions that have been made and the implementation of that, and in order to begin that process, then we'll hear from officials and we'll be glad to take questions. Let me first introduce to you the Colonel of the Missouri State Highway Patrol, Colonel Ron Repogel. Colonel Repogel.
Thank you, Governor. I command 1,240 troopers from Jefferson City, Missouri, where our headquarters is at. I cannot solve this problem from Jeff City, Missouri. The trait of a good leader is recognizing the resources that he has to put at play when problems come up. 2 days ago, I placed Captain Ron Johnson in command of the Highway Patrol operations here in Ferguson, Missouri. He is the most outstanding resource that I, as the Colonel of the Missouri State Highway Patrol, can bring to this problem in Ferguson, Missouri. I think you've seen his actions over the last 2 days. I think you have seen what he's capable of, and I'm going to turn this over to him. He's been here for 12 years as a troop commander in this area. He grew up in this community. He knows this community. He can far better solve this problem than I can from Jeff City. So I'm going to turn the podium over to him, and he's going to announce the plan for this curfew and how we're going to bring peace back to this community. Captain Johnson.
Why does it take a long investigation to indict a killer cop? Good afternoon. I have been tasked to provide security for the people of this community, allow them the right to speak, allow them the right to express their feelings. As far as the investigation, that is not my task. That's not the task of the Highway Patrol. The governor has enacted a curfew to allow us to provide safety for the citizens of Ferguson, but also to maintain the right of the people. That curfew will start today. It will run from 12 midnight is when the curfew will start to 5 in the morning. We will enforce that curfew in an effort to provide safety and security to the area. Before I go on any further, there's some things that when I was out yesterday in the crowd that I was asked about. And I've been promising that I will talk, I will communicate. The things that we talk about behind closed doors, I will communicate with you. There was some talk about having more eyes on this investigation. And I can tell you this morning, at about 9 o'clock this morning, the FBI brought 40 agents in and went to the Canfield area and went door to door to try to find other witnesses that may have been a part or saw the incident. They contacted several witnesses and they went to several homes where people weren't there. The homes that they went to and people weren't there, they left this card. They've also passed this card out to clergy. And if you are a witness or you have any information, you can contact your clergy. You can look on the door of your home and you will see this card. But I would ask that if you fill out this card, make sure you're filling out with some valid information. Let's just not send a lot of cards, which invalidates those that have valuable information to make sure that the proper justice is done in this case. I'll answer any questions, but I can tell you that the past few days I have seen a great people stand up with a lot of pride. I've seen great people stand up and speak their voice. I've seen people show compassion toward each other, strengthen each other, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is the positive impact that our community is showing on this nation, and we will survive this, and we will make a change.
Governor Nixon, I have a question.
if I could, before we get to lengthy questions, I committed, first of all, to our host to make sure that he had the right to speak, and I want to thank personally Representative, Reverend, friend Tommy Pearson. This is your house that we are in, the Lord's house, and I would ask if you'd like to make any comments before we'll take questions. We'll be glad to take questions, but Pearson.
Thank you, Governor, and all of the elected officials and the law enforcement officers who are here. The Greater St. Mark Family Church is just that. We're a family, and we view this community as our family. And so we wanted our place to be open to anyone who wanted to come here and have their peace and have their say. We have not restricted anyone from coming here. And I want to thank the governor for coming here today. We're in this community, and we want to do our part to make it a great community. We, like everybody else, want to see justice in this case. And I believe with the people that have been sent here from D.C. and other places, we will seek justice. And in the words of Amos, as I step to the side, let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. God bless you and God keep you is our prayer.
One more, then we'll take questions. One more. The senior elected official who has been intimately involved from day one to make sure that the resources were necessary, not only in this region but equally around the country. Congressman from this particular district, our good friend, Congressman Lacey Clegg.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Governor Nixon. Let me also say that I want to tip my cap to the Missouri Highway Patrol. I was able to walk with Captain Ron Johnson last night for about 2 hours along West Florissant Boulevard, listening to my constituents, listening to their pain, listening to their concerns and their demands about what they wanted. And it was a very peaceful assembly. And that's what we want that to continue to be along that stretch of street. And I want to commend the law enforcement for toning it down, for pulling it back, and showing a human side to this community. And that's what we first have to do. We first have to relate to each other and look at the way we police this community and hopefully change it for the better. So we will stop there and open it up for questions.
Thank you.
Governor Nixon.
Here first, you know.
Because you declared a state of emergency, I understand you have the right to set a curfew. I think I've been told you also have the right to take the investigation away from Bob McCullough. You have that authority. Are you going to take the investigation away from
Yes.
Our focus at this time clearly is on the security here, making sure we get peace. As I said before, there are a number of people of goodwill, people of good strength that are working extremely hard to get justice.
Do you have that authority?
I'm not going to, as I said when I got involved in this at an operational level, our focus was security, and we're going to maintain that focus while continuing to comment and support appropriately. There's another question over here.
Is how do you and Captain Johnson, how are you all going to enforce this curfew tonight? Peacefully without, are you going to do tear gas again? Are you bringing back military force? How are you planning to enforce this curfew?
I'll let the best way for any. Yeah, we'll hear from him. We'll hear from him. We're here, you know. The best way for us to get peace is for everybody to help to make sure that everybody gets home safe tonight at 12 o'clock and gets a good, solid 5 hours sleep before they get up tomorrow morning. And that we're going to, the cap.
Governor Nixon, we want justice.
Why is the focus on security and not getting justice? Why is there no of that?
If Mike Brown shot top, he would have been in jail.
That's right.
We want justice.
If we want justice for those that, I'll let you, just a second, I'll let you yell at me next. If we want justice, we cannot be distracted. We must be focused on making sure that people are allowed their First Amendment rights, but we do so in a peaceful fashion. We cannot have looting and crimes at night. We can't have people fearful.
We can't have police officers killing people.
My question is, how do you plan to enforce Governor, last night. I understand. My name is Patrick Davis, Governor of the Illinois Store. Now, last night, Captain Johnson, there's a question on this floor that I asked, how you plan with their own firearms. Will we have police guarding our homes and businesses?
Okay. First here, then there. Okay. Go ahead. Captain.
I'm going to talk to the gentleman here that asked the question first. And I'm going to tell you that what we're doing now is not who we are. It's not who we are. Yelling at each other is not going to solve that. We're all talking about the same concerns and the same passion. The frustration that's in your home is in my home. It's in my home. And I've given you all the answers that I know, and I'm going to continue to give you that. And I don't care who you are, how old you are, and I don't care if you were a peaceful protester last night or if you were a rioter last night, rioting. You will still get those same answers. So tonight, we will enforce that curfew. We won't enforce it with trucks. We won't enforce it with tear gas. We'll communicate. We'll talk about, you know what, it's time to go home. It's time to go home. You have not seen a hand-in-hand approach. Last night, some things were different that precipitated that, and you saw that. You saw that. But I can tell you, because someone's standing in the street, there's not going to be an armored truck come out. You saw people sitting in the street, and they got a chance to get up. And that's the way it's going to continue.
Were you not aware? Police not killing our children. Start there.
We're going to answer one question at a time.
Were you not aware, and even though you're in command, were you not aware that SWAT teams were being deployed last night? Were you not made aware? Did you know about it?
Yes, I did. And last.
So you gave that order?
Yes. Yes.
You ordered the tear gas?
No. Can I answer your question? Can I answer your question?
There are reports that this happened without you knowing it. And that's what I'm asking.
Let me answer the question. Last night we had several officers that were trapped on a parking lot. They tried to get out. We sent an armored vehicle to help them out. We sent 2 armored vehicles to help them out. We had 3 officers injured. One officer deployed 1 can of tear gas. He was there. He made that decision. I got a call on the phone, and I said, I'm back en route. I got back out of my bed, and I went en route, and I said, make sure we are not going to use any force that's not necessary. And it was 1 can that got out. Those officers got out. I removed those officers out, and the next thing that you saw was a group of officers standing on the roadway. And yes, that happened. And
release a picture of the officer that killed
that, ma'am, that is not a part of my investigation. And listen, and we cannot answer that. We cannot answer that. Because listen.
Would you be willing to work with the ground peacekeepers so we can communicate with you when all of those who intend to keep peace are gone and those who don't intend to keep peace are the ones who are remaining? Will you be be in direct communication with us? We have a person that can be in contact. We made a request for a two-way radio. Can we have a direct contact with someone so we can say all the peacekeepers are out?
Yes, you can. And you know, I've seen you out on the street, and I've seen you out with those gentlemen with the the red bandanas on their face. And I walked up to you. I talked to them, and some of them were angry. Some of them didn't like what I wanted to say, but I listened. I didn't walk away. And I've talked to you every night, and I've talked to them every night. And I will continue to do that. We will be in this together.
Will you provide for our leader, our two-way radio, so we can say all the peacekeepers are out before any additional action is taken?
We're not using a two-way radio, but I can tell you when I'm there on the ground, you can talk with me, you can walk with me, you can be seen with me.
After curfew has ended and everyone is not gone, how do we find you to let you know that all those who intend to keep peace are gone and those who don't intend to keep peace are staying?
We have.
I will not go home. I'm on the street until we get justice for Mike Brown.
Okay, the gentleman. What we got a question. I'm going to get you. You're next. You're next. You're next. We're next. We're next. Okay. Let's answer this question first.
Hold 1 second. This is very important. My name.
Well, can we work together? I'll get with you tonight.
Oh, okay. My name is Malik Shabazz.
Yes.
My name is Malik Shabazz. I'm the president of Black Lawyers for Justice. As you well know, on Thursday night, that my group, and thanks to you, but my organizers, along with the New Black Panther Party and the Nation of Islam, that we are the ones that put those men in the streets, and we control the flow of traffic. And I personally shut down the avenue at 2 o'clock, the cars and the cones, and cleared everybody out. There were no incidents on Thursday night. Okay, so and you were there, and you witnessed that. And so what I'm saying is tonight, with the curfew being at 12 midnight, it seems to be a tight curfew line that could be a prescription for confrontation. And I don't know if it is as easy as it is asking people to leave at that time as you may believe it to be. And so what I'm saying is right now we're organizing, we have at least 100 or 150 men working with the various organizations I just named and the National Action Network to make sure that this doesn't deteriorate into a situation where everybody's tear gassed and the demonstrators look bad and it turns that way. And so is there any way that the curfew could be pushed back some, and that there is some dialogue here for some rules of engagement? Because I don't believe that the police could enforce the curfew without a confrontation. But I do know that the forces that are under our command can bring this to a conclusion, with the demonstrators being able to get their message out, our message too, but also able to bring this to a decent conclusion. So, my specific question is, can the time be extended some? And can the burden of ending the demonstration tonight, can that be on us so that we don't have what happened last night? Because it was falsely reported on Friday morning that it just ended by magic. It did not end by magic on Thursday night. It ended because we ended it, and we have the rapport with the demonstrators. They respect me. They respect us. And we can talk to them and get them to leave. Every time the police show up, they convert. That was only because
we would talk. I would talk with you. I would talk with you. I'm going to answer. I'm trying. Can I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to say that those groups that he talked about that helped us on Thursday night, he's absolutely correct. And when I met with the governor that next day, I said, I do not know the name of those groups. And I said, but there were gentlemen in black pants and black shirts. And I said, they got out there and they did their job. And I told that to the governor. I'll tell that to the nation. Those groups helped, and they're a part of this. And the curfew is going to stand, but I ask that you still help us and get it out, but we're going to need you. We have citizens that live in homes, elderly citizens that live in homes with kids, and kids are going to school. They're saying we've got to have our rest. We've got to have our rest. We're angry. I may not be able to get out of my home and go protest, and I don't want to stop that. And what they're thanking me for is that we're allowing them to voice their opinion. And when I walked up to today, there was a motorcycle group out here who walked up and said, you tell us what time. You tell us what time. I ask that you help us, and I'm going to tell you that we can't do it. We can't do it. There was a gentleman in the crowd, and everybody said, Captain Johnson, great job. Boy, you turned this around. You had the crowd gone. He said, well, Captain Johnson, you go ahead and do it. He said, because we were out there. And I said, you're right. Captain Johnson didn't do it. You do it. And it was some of those young men that were helping you. And I appreciate it.
We couldn't call 911. We couldn't call Star 55. Nobody was able to respond from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. when the citizens that you're asking to help you, we called 911, we called the county, we called the local police, and everybody was pushing the buck. It's like we're chasing our tail. You're asking us to help, but we don't know how to help.
Can I answer that? And that's why we're going to clear those streets, because we did have citizens who called, and we were unable to get to them. We're going to clear those streets so we can handle those sick cases. And matter of fact, we're in the back room talking about 911, and people are calling 911 and not getting their calls. And we talked about that. The representative talked about, well, where should they call? And I said, you have them call 911, and you're going to see a state patrol car or a county police car get there. And that's why we have to clear those streets. I know you're trying, but people get sick at 1 o'clock in the morning. People get sick at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we're going to do that. We're going to work, and we're going to do that. Let's work and get this part done and see what gains that we make. We are going. And I can tell you this morning we talk about an investigation. You're talking about the governor. Can you get somebody else to investigate? He's been all the way to the White House, and you saw 40 FBI agents out there today, and they're coming back. They're getting cards. That's what they're doing. They were there today. They sent these cars. I brought these cars. I asked the agent, I said, I want you to give me a card so everybody can know they exist.
How long is the state of emergency going to last?
If I could.
How long will the state of emergency last?
Stop killing our people, police!
How long will the state of emergency last, Governor Nixon?
If I could please.
You allow legal observers to be on
Please.
the street to make sure that there are no abuses after the curfew. Will the media be allowed out to report after curfew? Will you allow legal observers? Will you allow the media out of the street to report after the mission?
The police attacked us last night. The police attacked women and children last night. They attacked them. We kept them attacked. We kept young men back, but they attacked them. Then they went to the press and spread a bunch of lies. This is not working. The police are attacking us. They're attacking us. They shot tear gas at women and children. We rescued these women and children. And then came back and didn't help them. They're attacking us. The police is antagonizing these groups. They're antagonizing.
Governor Nixon, how long will the state of emergency last?
It's just too.
Answer that question, please.
Excuse me, can you explain to us why this
I'm going to ask this one first.
whole press conference is focused on controlling the anger of the people, when the whole reason the people are in the streets for a week now is because people are demanding justice, and there has been no arrest, there has been no indictment, and people know that this poor child, this 18-year-old young man, was killed in cold blood, and there has been no arrest, and people are demanding justice. That's why people are in the street. And now this whole press conference has been turned into an explanation of why you are controlling people's anger and suppressing people's anger and telling people to calm down. Why is that the case?
Question over here. Our hope is that that we'll get situational awareness tomorrow morning. Our hope is that with the help of all, that tonight will be a more peaceful night than last night, while allowing the appropriate emotions and energies and allowing folks to speak out. The second question. The second question, and then I'll have Congressman Clay.
But just let him answer in the middle answer the question.
Our full hope and expectation is that we'll.
Would you please let him answer the question? You can't interrupt him while he's trying to answer the question.
Clearly, the media has a role in helping here, and clearly.
We can answer about the length of the state of emergency.
So I said before, we're going to get situational awareness tomorrow morning. We'll make a decision. I mean, we're going to watch this one day at a time. This is not normal, and our hope was that we return back to a peaceful normal.
But killing our children is one of the hands. Governor Nixon.
Let him answer.
That's why I got to ask you. Can somebody answer that question, please?
I'm going to let Representative Pearson and Congressman Clay want to say something.
Listen. No, excuse me if you would. Excuse me.
Why can't these officers be in front of all these businesses and then, instead of putting a curfew on these people, just put officers in front of these businesses down West Florida? You got 5 police departments down West Florida.
Stop. That is not, so we can say that is not.
So you want to say?
I'm going to tell you why that's. Oh, we got to get a legitimate answer to the question. Now explain it. No, how? We tell you why that will not work.
Real quick.
Go ahead, Shabazz. Go ahead.
I just want to explain.
Just quickly.
Why that will not work. Putting police officers in front of those businesses, in front of all of these demonstrators. Listen. The question or answer, you got to be able to listen. If you put officers in front of the buildings where all of the demonstrators are going to converge on the officers. The officers are going to take a posture against the demonstrators, and then we're going to have a big battle. The solution is we can control the security situation ourselves. Now, I am asking for an extension of the curfew, but within the zone, we have enough manpower to be able to let our people get their message out, and then we don't need anyone in there.
And
time is too
let me suggest to Captain Johnson. Let me suggest to Captain Johnson that he work with you on some leeway and some time, But let me make a point too. I've heard a lot of concern about prosecution, and let me clear up some facts for you. Can you hear me now? Let me clear up some facts about prosecution of this case. First of all, on Monday, I asked Attorney General Eric Holder to take over the entire case and to prosecute it as a civil rights violation. And I will continue to pursue that. But I think that for some in this room, your anger is misdirected. On a state charge of murder, the county prosecutor files the charges. Now, so if you...
Let's go to Clayton then.
I agree with you. I'm willing to go. I agree with you. But he hasn't filed the charges, and it's very... Wait a minute. It's very peculiar that the victims... I would rather that we get to all the facts, let the process go forward, and let the feds prosecute. Because you're not going to get a fair trial in St. Louis County with this scenario.
Real quickly, just a second. If I could, one thing for the press. One thing for the press. Please. Captain Johnson will define a media staging area. that you can get to that will allow you then to have access to the zone tonight to make sure that transparency is carried out during this process. He will have a staging area that will then allow folks to get in. We want to make sure as we're doing this that there is transparency during the entirety of the process. I can guarantee that Captain Johnson will make that staging area available and then make sure the members of the press have access to openly and fairly record, openly and fairly see, and openly and fairly show the country, the world, whoever, what's going on. Thank you all very much for your time.